go ahead and tackle our word problems here. The perimeter of a hexagon is no more than 50 inches. If two sides are 8 inches, three sides are 5 inches, what length can the sixth side be? I would go ahead and start by defining my variable. We're trying to find the lengths of the sixth side. Notice we have lengths because we're working with inequality, so there can be more than one solution here. So my variable might just be n equals the side length. Words, perimeter. I should be thinking in my head that perimeter is add up all the sides. So your perimeter is no more than 50 inches. So 50 is going to be important. No more than is going to be important. No more than is what inequality symbol? I think the more than symbol, but I know it's not that because of the word no. So I know it's going to be less than or equal to. The other things that are important in here, two sides that are 8 inches. So if it's two sides, it's going to be 8 inches plus 8 inches. And then three sides that are 5 inches. So it's going to be a 5, a 5, and a 5. I know a hexagon has 6 sides, so 8, 8, 5, 5, and 5. So I have 16 plus 15 is 31. So my inequality, I'm missing one of the side lengths, but so far I have 31. So I would write that n plus, what do I have already? 31 is no more than, less than or equal to 50. And then go ahead and solve that. N plus 31. We're going to subtract 31 from both sides. Bring down what's left. And do my math. 50 minus 31, we have to borrow. N is less than or equal to 19. Let's make sure it makes sense. Graph it, 0, 19, negative 19. I'm including 19, and it can be less than 19. All right, it wouldn't make sense to use the side length of 0 right now, so I need to use something else. I could just use the number 1. If I use the number 1, 1 plus 31, is that less than or equal to 50? 32 is less than or equal to 50. I know I have a true statement, so I did my problem correctly. I have to make sure now when I give the solution, I'm not just writing n equals 19. I'm not just writing n less than or equal to 19. It's a sentence, a solution sentence. So that means you need to tell the sixth side length is, and then go back in your problem and see what words they used. No more than $19. And our label is inches. So that's a little bit different than what we have been giving in the past for our solution in the equation unit. Got to make sure that you have a sentence, you're explaining how long it could actually be. So the sixth side length is no more than 19 inches long for your answer. Problem number 2. At the fair, Kylie plans to ride the go-karts and play carnival games. If the go-karts cost $5.50, what is the most she can spend on games at the fair if she brought $18? So we're trying to go back and find our variable. What is the most she can spend on games? So we're talking about money on the game. So we'll just use G for her game money. The word she's got to spend some more on games, and she's spending, my words would be at most $18. To write my inequality, I know 550 is going to be important. The words at most, 18 in my variable. So I can start with, she has $5.50. She's going to spend some more on the games, so I'm going to add whatever she spends on the games. But what does the inequality for at most mean? Well, it should be a less than or equal to 18. Because she can't go over 18 or they're not going to let her play any of the games. Go ahead and solve this then. We do our 550 plus g less than or equal to 18. Gotta solve, so subtract 550. Do your math. 18 minus 550 equals $12.50. So at most she can spend is $12.50. We want to make sure that that's correct. So we put our 0. And we are going to go ahead and put our closed circle close to the 1250, so we're about in the middle here. Less than or equal to, shading to the left. Now I shaded in 0, so I can use 0 to check because that would make sense. Maybe I don't want to spend any money on my games, and I'm just going to spend it on the go-karts. So if I did that, 550 plus 0 less than or equal to 18, well, is 550 less than or equal to 18? Yes, that's a true statement, so I did the problem correct. Check my solution sentence. Kylie can spend at most $12.50 on games. Next problem, number 3. The table shows the lowest record temperature on each continent. The temperature at a weather station in Wisconsin is less than 150 degrees greater than the record low in Asia. What are possible temperatures at the weather station? So start circling what's important. We want to figure out what the possible temperatures could be in Wisconsin. So we might use T for temperatures in Wisconsin. 150 is going to be important, and we're talking about that we are greater than the record low in Asia. So we have to read our chart and find where Asia is to know what number we are working with, which is negative 90. If we are talking about less than, we are subtracting. So we want to take our temperature minus the 150, which is greater than negative 90. I know I accidentally wrote that in my words. I want that in my equation box there. T minus 150 greater than negative 90. Alright, and then to solve my problem, negative 90 plus 150, different signs subtract, is 60. Graph and check your work. And greater than temperatures could be greater than 60 degrees. See if that makes sense. If I try something that's greater than 60, I might say that it's 90 degrees out, so 90 minus my 150, is that still greater than negative 90? Well, what is 90 minus 150? We have negative 60. Is negative 60 greater than negative 90? It's a true statement. So we are correct. We would write your solution sentence. Temperature in Wisconsin is greater than 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Last problem. A person can be no taller than 6.25 feet to become an astronaut pilot for NASA. Your friend is 5 feet 9 inches tall. How much can your friend grow and still meet the requirement? Define my variable. I'm trying to figure out the height requirement. H is going to be my height. My words that I'm looking at is a person can be no taller than 6.25 feet. So that kind of reminds me of no taller than is kind of like no more than. So my inequality would probably be less than or equal to that I'm working with. My inequalities. But so far I have 5 feet 9 inches tall. So in order to solve that, I have to change my 5 feet 9 inches into just feet for what they are giving me. So if I do 5 feet 9 inches tall, 5 feet times 12 will give me 60 inches. Then I have to add on my 9 inches. So I have 69 inches tall so far. When I change that into feet then, I can do 69 divided by 12, which gives me, I use my calculator, 69 divided by 12, 5.75. So far I have 5.75. So my height plus 5.75 is less than or equal to 6.25. So then go ahead and solve that. My height plus 5.75 greater than or equal to 6.25. Subtract 5.75 from both sides. Bring down what is left. 6.25 minus 5.75 gives you 0. 6.25, hold on, I think I did that wrong. Make sure I have the right answer that I'm giving you here. Yeah, 0.5. So 5 minus 5 is 0. Go ahead and borrow. 0.5. Go ahead and graph that then. We'll count by 0.5s. We need a closed circle. And it is less than. Now would that make sense to graph that? And would you have a person that would go into the negatives? No. Would you even have a person that we're adding on? We're just adding on how many inches. So notice you're not talking about the actual height of the person. And to check it, let's use 0 to check to make sure I did it right. 0 plus 5.75 less than or equal to 6.25 is 5.75 less than 6.25 statement, so we did it right. So if you go back to answer the question, we're talking about how much can your friend grow and still meet the requirements. They can grow, they can no more than no more than 0.5 inches tall. Oh, I mixed that up. Not inches. We're talking about feet. All right, you should have all of your toolbox filled out then. Your independent practice is assigned to Big Ideas 4.2. Label the top of your paper, solving inequalities, adding and subtracting, Big Ideas 4.2. Then set up your columns to solve, graph, and check your skill part. When you get to a word problem, let's remember this graph that I used with you and make sure you are defining your variable. You're writing your inequality out, solving, graphing, and checking it. You're only graphing it if the graph makes sense to you. And then your solution is in the solution sentence. All right, go ahead and get to work.